This car is priceless. There's 3 of them in the world. Three cars were built in 1970 for Tour de France. 1 actual race car and 2 clones. This is one of those clones. It is registered as a Chrysler because Plymouth wasn't recognized in France. So Plymouth couldn't be in the Tour de France, had to be a recognized company. So this car is titled a Chrysler Cuda. To be eligible for Tour de France, it had to be imported. So this car has a 240 kilometer speedometer. It's in kilometers because that was France. These cars were over in France for about 3 years. They then returned to the US, and I have no idea where it was all these years, but they ended up in the hands of a restoration shop in Montreal. We have a picture of a red car that came out of the factory. Now, whether it was a mistake, I don't fully know. Then it was painted the white and the blue, like you see in this picture. And then this is the actual original color. And stuff like that back then did happen. You know, a car would be coated to be green and they'd put red on it. It's one of those things. The car was meticulously restored within the last 5 years, and I can honestly say they're the nicest restorations I've ever seen. They're better when the car now is in better condition than when it rolled off the factory line in 1969. It's a 426 Hemi, 4-speed, 2 4-rows, shaker car. They left the power steering off because it robs horsepower. I think you lose 5 or 10 horse. Well, that's not a whole lot, but when you're trying to get all you can, it is. So a lot of these cars were manual steering. Manual steering power disc brakes on the front, drum on the back. The rear end is a posi. They were made by Dana. They were put into all Chryslers of this era, the muscle cars, the Hemi cars, the 446 pack cars, the 340 cars. I'm not going to say they're all Danas, but a good chunk of them are. It's got a 4-speed, pistol grip shift, and then it's got the 426 Hemi, which is rated at 450 horse. But from what I've read, they're closer to 500. And when you get 500 horse in a 1970, it's probably equivalent to a 900 horse in a brand new car, because you want to know what you're doing. In this collection, there's some awful nice cars. This is one of the crown jewels, if you will. These are big investment cars for the owner, and you know, they need to be babied. I would say in the next 10 years, this car will be $1 million car, if preserved the way it is. And if I have anything to do with it, it will be. In my books, this car is irreplaceable.